Nobody talks about this, but
You're a Christian, you love the Lord, you go to church, and you're living with someone you're not married to.
hot topic.
Okay.
Not to be hypocrites.
No, we're not judgmental.
Not judgmental.
We're not judging.
We've all been there. We've all done it.
We are talking about cultural norms.
Yes.
Like that's what we talk about is the cultural norms. What culture says is okay to do.
So if you're okay to be humble and honest also as well, drop the word purity in the comments below. Or
Purity?
just drop talk about it down there. We'll know.
If this relates to you guys, though, because this is a serious topic, and because we know that that God has order and God has principles,
yes.
and when you're not living within those guidelines, that there are consequences, and you're not going to be living the life that God wants for you if you aren't living in order.
That is so true. They're so true. Obedience and order is a part of God's plan for your life.
Yeah.
But we're not perfect when we come to Christ. And
that's the great thing about when you come to Christ is that you show up. When you go to church, you just go as you are. You know, the church, if you're going to the right church, the church should be set up like a hospital. It's like you just come as you are. And wherever you're at, you're healing, you know, wherever you're at, and you just show up.
But we have to confront cultural norms, because it's not just in the worldly or 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's in the church.
It's in
the church. We see
so
a lot.
We're just talking about Christians that are married and living together, and the cultural norm of this, right? And some people may justify it, you know, and for whatever reasons.
It's just a ring. It's just a piece of paper.
Yeah. What does it mean?
Exactly.
If we get married, things will change. You know, there's so many limited beliefs.
Yeah. And what's the thing your mom always says about the cow?
About the cow.
Why buy the milk when you got the cow for free? I
think that's what she says. It's like why buy the milk when you've got the cow for free? Like why buy the milk when you've got the cow for free? Like you're living together. It's probably not how it goes, but it's basically saying like why do you need to pay for it? Like why
should you put a ring on her finger? Why should you have a ceremony? There's so many reasons why. And we're going to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
It's about commitment. It's about order. It's about doing it God's way. God has a design for our lives. And God has blessings and rewards that come with marriage and the commitment that you make. And when you stand up in front of a room of your peers in your community and you give your vows and your commitment to each other, that is such a huge thing and such a big moment. And let me tell you what I do know for the guys. She may say, oh, it's no big deal. I'm telling you right now, she's fully disappointed and probably bitter about it. And if she's not bitter about it yet, she's going to be bitter about it later.
And she says it to protect herself.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, oh, it's okay.
Protect her heart.
You know, we don't need to mess anything up, you know, by getting married.
Yeah.
Right? So.
All right. So for correction, it's why buy the cow if you're getting your milk for free?
If you're getting your milk for free, like why commit?
And that's the challenge.
Yeah.
I think that's the challenge. People, you know, again, why put a ring on her finger? Why buy a house? Why sign the piece of paper?
You're already living together. You're already acting married.
Yeah.
You're already, you know, doing the married life. And so why make everything...
But you're not married.
You're
not really committed. And like we said before, guys, if you think she's not disappointed because, oh yeah, it's just a piece of paper and all this stuff and everything, she's disappointed. And if she's not, bitterness is coming.
It will come down the pipeline. And normally though, Scotty, and if you agree, put this in the chat, because us as women, like we don't want to commit. We don't want to be let down. We watched in the past or had experienced in the past so many disappointments in relationships, And even in watching marriages, like I watched my parents, be married for 23 years and never should have been married.
Yeah.
And I always said, I'm never getting married, but I always lived with my boyfriends.
Yeah.
I always played house and played married couple, right? And so for a lot of the time, it's the woman that's saying, I don't need to marry you.
Yeah.
However,
she's settling.
She is settling, and the man even maybe paying all the bills and taking care of her as though he was the provider and all that. But it's sometimes it's the woman won't agree to get married because she doesn't want to mess things up, and that's coming from a place of hurt and fear. And like you said, disappointment for sure. It's not that he doesn't want to marry her; she won't marry him.
Exactly.
That was me.
Whoa, yeah. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
So it's not always what I'm saying is it's not always the guy.
It's not always the guy.
That
it's not always
doesn't
the guy.
want to marry, right?
Sure. Yeah, I'm not going to marry you,
right.
But I'll live with you.
I'll live with you.
But yeah, because it's the bills and everything. We'll split the cost, all the things. So interestingly though, what does someone do if they've come to Christ but they're living with somebody that they're not married to and they've been with them for a while, but the commitment's not there, and the other partner isn't coming to a church or isn't getting right with the Lord?
That is so tough. There is going to be constant, maybe not constant tension. There's going to be tension in the house. There is going to definitely be, as one person is growing. That's always the hard thing. I know in our house growing up, my dad owned businesses, owned car washes, and so on Sundays that was the busiest day. So he was never in church with us. My mom always had us in church, and so my mom is growing in development, personal development, spiritually, all these areas, and my dad is not. So they're never on the same page, right? And so that's one of the hard things. Is most of the time, not always, but most of the time, it's the woman going to church and the guy isn't going. Yeah. Right. And she's disappointed. It will cause tension. Sure. In the home. Yeah. It will cause disappointment. Her having disappointment in the man, in the relationship. You will not feel confident. If you are married, I know I was just talking to one of our clients the other day, and I was talking to one of her friends, and this young lady they've been dating for years, and they love each other. They're not married. She goes to church. He doesn't go to church. And they're talking about starting a family. Yeah. Oh boy. Together. Oof. And they're not married. Yeah. And which is a whole other topic. And he had cheated multiple times. But they had years invested. They had so much time invested. So instead of just letting him go and trusting God and going to church and staying consistent and becoming the one in order to attract the one God has for you and doing that whole thing, women just hold on. Yeah. And now on the other hand, there's the folks that, they're not that far down the road. I know you lived with, one boyfriend or two. I lived with all my boyfriends. I lived with two people. I always lived with my boyfriend. I was always playing house. So I lived with two girls over a period of time or whichever. But we had both made commitments to pull back. How's that go? What do you mean, pulling back on? Well, pull back, like you moved in with your dad, I moved in with my grandma. You mean like once you started going to church and I started going to church, we weren't dating yet. Right. We made a choice. That's a whole other thing. Like if you, that's wonderful. If there's a man that's going to church and you're working on yourself and you're going to church, that's like a setup for success. Yeah. Like you're both working on your principles and your standards and trusting God and growing and you'll end up, coming together. So it's really for men. So men get to church, and fine. And I know there's a lot of people out there that they love the Lord and they don't go to church. Yeah. I mean, I know we had a season. We had a season where there were years that we didn't, it was around COVID and everything, where years when we did not go to church and we weren't plugged in to community. And we were missing out on community, but we were plugging in on YouTube. We were watching church online and staying home online and everything. But I say that to say, if you are a Christian, it is really important to find a community, find a church that you can get plugged into so that you're continuing to grow, so that you can meet that person, you know, work on yourself so God can bring that person to you. Not that you're going to, you know, you could meet in church, but just by working on yourself and putting Christ first, the Lord starts aligning, you know, and you start praying for that person.
Exactly.
You know, that you want to be with, the Lord will end up aligning you and bringing you together.
So I think also, in, you know, maybe closing out, it's about healthy boundaries. It's about, you know, setting boundaries. Setting boundaries is saying, hey, listen, you know, you don't move in with somebody, you know, to save money on bills. And
so many people do that.
So many do. I do have one guy I'm thinking of as a client, good guy, and he had brought it up because his marriage she was afar, and they were just meeting on Zoom, and then they chose to get married, and then she moved here, and they had to live together. But they were plugged into church. They were plugged into their pastor. They lived in the same apartment or home that they had, but they had to sleep in separate rooms. And
they did that until they got married.
Until the marriage actually took place, which was their way of honoring
one another.
That's hard to do.
And honoring the Lord is what they were doing.
They were honoring the Lord. They were honoring one another, and that worked out. That worked out. So, you know, it's so important, guys, I think, that you just make the commitment to living with someone and living life together should be a marriage commitment.
It should be a marriage commitment, because if you are going to church and they're not going to church, you are going to be growing at different levels, and you will not be aligned, and you won't be equal in what you're doing. And the other person's going to end up annoying you, and frustrations and disappointment comes, and that's where the tension comes and all that stuff, because you can't be growing and they're not growing. It doesn't work. And if you are staying in a situation because of finances, it's like you're not trusting the Lord. You know, you are not trusting God to take care of you and end that relationship, and trusting that God's going to provide a way for you to. You're trying
to cheat God's order.
Yeah.
You can't cheat God's order. You can't cheat death.
I remember when I did it.
You can't cheat God's order.
I remember when I did. I was like, Lord, I am trusting you that, you know, the Lord had made it clear this is not the man I'm supposed to be with. And so I kicked him out, and I'm like, okay, Lord, I got to pay these bills. Like, help me make a way. And sure enough, man, just like the Lord showed up, and because I trusted and I walked by faith. And so it was so cool, because God wants to prove himself to us, you know, and God wants to provide, but we have to trust, we have to step into it. So if you are a Christian and you are living in a situation where you are living together and not married, we just challenge you, you know, to either marry that girl or guy, you know, get married and just do it and start going to church together, or stop. Like, go your separate ways. And if you think financially you can't make it work, like, make a plan, get a plan, make a plan. And because you owe it to yourself to get with someone that the Lord has for you, and whoever that person is that you're with, you know, God has somebody for them too. Like, let them go and be happy for them. Just because you have years invested, that doesn't mean anything. Like, don't attach meaning to that just because you have years invested. It's not, the years weren't that great, you know, and you have great years ahead of you, but you have to trust, and you have to have it in order with the standards and principles of the Bible. And the biblical principles work. Man, we're living it. And we have lots of people, lots of friends of ours that are living it. And so we just encourage you to take that on and get married. Right?
That's right.
Or get moving. Right? So, right?
If you're looking for some coaching, that's what we do.
We do that. We can help you with that. We help so many people. So this has been good. So if you related to this, if we, you know, got a little fire under your butt, like, put it in the comments. We want to hear from you guys. And thanks for listening. You guys have a great day.